right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Pattison Report podcast. As always, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. And we've had a couple weeks where we could kind of check in on, putting it nicely, on some of the B plots going around. We had the very beginning of the MLB season. You had the Sixers just kind of, having fun, doing whatever they were doing, not really paying too much attention to them. Recently, they've given us a reason to, and we've kind of thrown the Eagles on the back burner for a little while because it was kind of peaceful. Nothing was going on. We were kind of in that in between. The combine had happened, guesses had been made, draft wasn't quite there yet. We were just kind of sitting back. And well, whenever that happens, whenever the views get low nationally, not just for us but for everybody, it is a great time for an Eagles hit piece. And the A.J. Brown rumors were, wildfire for a little bit. Then they kind of died off. People stopped believing them. So, the reporters, the insiders at WIP, ESPN, pick your media outlet went, all right, well, we need to get some views. We need some clicks. A.J. Brown stopped working. Diana Rossini kind of killed that one. I think we need to start trashing Jalen Hurts. And at pretty much like clockwork, that is what happened. Tim McManus had a report come out about how he had an anonymous Eagles source that said Jalen was hesitant to change, increasingly uncoachable. He was the reason the offense stagnated. You name it. Quoting this report, Jalen was like the worst guy to ever live. And of course, everybody picked it up. You have, the Chase Daniels of the world going, see, I told you so. This guy's trash. I should have been the starter in Philly, whatever. You have some people supporting them, notably, like, Adam Schefter saying things is kind of bullshit. Dan Orlovsky's always been an Eagles guy. I mean, he's a local, so I get it. So I'm curious where you stand on this whole thing. Is it one of those things like where there's smoke, there's fire, or is this just, hey, the views are down, let's trash the Eagles?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think it's a trash the Eagles thing because where is my Justin Herbert hit piece? Where is that? Did he not blow 27-0 lead and just nothing came of it? They're like, oh, it's fine. Shake it off, Justin. You'll be good next game. It's like Jalen receives this unfair amount of criticism, but from the guys that have been to the top of the mountain, it's nothing but praise.
Yes.
Tom Brady, yes. Peyton Manning, those are the guys you want the praise from.
Tom Brady works out with them.
Exactly. It's preposterous, honestly. And you know what rubbed me the worst, the wrong way? The 4 verts play call, they put it on Jalen. Yeah, go back and watch that replay.
His face was stunned when that play call came through. That wasn't his idea.
I sent you the tweeter about, hey, whenever there's a Jalen Hurts hit piece or something like that, it's always when Sirianni's starting to get a little bit of criticism, and Kevin Patullo's been leaking before. So yeah, it's like, come on, dude. It's really bad.
You bring up a good point though, because I never believed it to begin with. Throughout the season, if Jalen were calling that offense, it would have looked dramatically differently because they had him doing stuff that he wasn't comfortable doing. So the idea that, oh no, Kevin Patullo was this offensive mastermind, but Jalen held him back, is laughable to me. But you're right. I thought that was my opinion this whole time. I forgot that we had photographic evidence of him receiving one of Patullo's unhinged play calls, and his face, could say, what the fuck? So the idea that, oh no, Jalen wanted to run 4 verts. Patullo had this great play call lined up, but we had to do what Jalen said. That is just completely and patently false.
Look, it feels like it was clearly one of those too. We watched the Commanders game in week 18.
Yeah.
When they had the backups in. Tank Bigsby was cooking those guys. He was awesome. And they're like, Tanner McKee throw it 40 times a game. Why is that? Because we want to upstage Jalen Hurts and we want to prove a point. And guess what? It didn't work.
No, it's never going to work. I mean, I think, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman are 2 very good football minds. If if there is this, which I don't think is crazy at this point, if there is this agenda inside the team to, take Jalen down a peg from, whether it was Patullo on the way out or whether it's Nick who's still here or whatever. I mean, you have two guys who I like to believe are unfoolable. I mean, Howie Roseman knows talent. He took the biggest swing anybody would have possibly taken on Jalen Hurts, and then he did it again when he paid him. And Jeffrey Lurie, all he cares is that if you win, and all Jalen does in general is win. Look, was last year pretty? No. Have we gotten a little bit spoiled as Eagle fans lately? Yes. I mean, we compete every single year. Last year wasn't what you would want, but you were in the playoffs with the team that could make a run at it. So it's so weird to me that there seems to be this constant need, even from within too. Like we're kind of, we're talking about, the national media a little bit and, people who don't know the situation, but it's in Philly too. Like there's some Eagle fans that can't stand Jalen. There's some WIP personality that can't stand Jalen. I mean, at one point we would have given up everything we love for a shot at the Super Bowl. We have a quarterback who's been there twice, outplayed the best quarterback in football twice, and suddenly he's not enough. It's just weird.
It's so confusing, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that Jalen's not the perfect quarterback. There's deficiencies to his game, specifically throwing over the middle, and I think that was noted in the article. But like everyone already knew that, so it's kind of feels like it's rehashing a little bit. So no, he's not the perfect quarterback. Would I rather him over about at least say 22 to 23 to 24 quarterbacks in the league? Pretty easily, honestly. Like it's just one of those things where he has to deal with the media, the team situation and everything, and it's just, his wide receiver. It's so complicated. He doesn't deserve all the criticism he gets, but he does deserve some criticism. It's not a blameless game for what happened last season. Obviously, we've acknowledged that on this podcast, though. So
it's just the standard he's held to inside and outside the city is so unusual to me. Like it really is a razor wire with him where you're right. He's probably, if on the high side of Jalen believers, you could say he's top 5. On the low end of realistic Jalen believers, he's top 10. That's the range kind of for him. And he's almost in one breath, people will say, well, no, he's barely a top 10 quarterback. Okay, fine. If that's your belief, then that's an arguable position. But then the standard they set him to is 1-2. Like, you can't. People are talking out of both sides of their mouth. He is either what you say he is, which is, a top 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 quarterback, or he's Pat Mahomes. You can't hold him to a Pat Mahomes standard, but then admit that he's this. Does that make sense? I'm not talking to you in general. I'm saying
I understand.
That's what he's held to.
And piggybacking off of that, everyone not named Patrick Mahomes should probably have a hit piece at this point.
Yeah, Justin Herbert can't win in the playoffs. Nothing.
If you're not Patrick Mahomes, you probably should have an article written about you by now with all the winning Mahomes does. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And we're speaking of how Peyton and Brady, love Jalen. What current quarterback respects Jalen Hurts more than Pat Mahomes? After he beat him in the Super Bowl, he all but said, "Look, we won today, but that guy outplayed me." So, the guys like you said, the guys at the mountaintop are big Jalen guys and say, this guy wins, he's a good leader, this, that, and the other thing. But it's just so many loud people at the very bottom of the mountain that seem to do the most squawking about it.
Yeah, and, like I said, those people do bring up a point, but it's over-exaggerated. I'd say, like I mentioned, there is deficiencies in his game. He's not the perfect quarterback. Obviously, that's basically Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. Like it's not, those only come around every so often. Apparently, we got 2 in a row. So what do we know? But there's just so many little things that you could go elsewhere and talk about, and with how the season went, and it just seems to be all Eagles, 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 Eagles. I get it because it drives clicks. You've said that.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where it's like, is there any other team? Like, I know AJ Brown was a huge thing because wide receivers don't go on the cheap. We saw DJ Moore fetch a second. I couldn't believe that. We saw Jalen Waddle fetch a first. I kind of saw that one coming when that deal got processed. But like, these guys don't come around. The alpha wide receivers, you can't just find them on trees. You got to either draft them high, or when they ask out, like AJ Brown kind of did. He didn't really ask out. You know, it was kind of more so the GM didn't want to pay him and whatnot.
Yeah.
And replaced, it's complicated there too. But that situation you have to target and high in the draft. That's how you get alpha wide receivers like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, of course. But man, I just wish the noise would quiet down a little bit, because this team is really good, still is really good, and they're about to enter a draft with a ton of picks.
I do want to say before we move on to, I think we'll tackle all three teams today because the way they're all playing. But I want to give a quick shout out before we do that. I mean, two guys who, one's still an Eagle, one was kind of a background Eagle. Who probably should have had an axe to grind with Jalen and has chose not to. I mean, both Tank Bigsby and Jahan Dotson have come out this week and publicly said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Keep Jalen's name out of your mouth, etc. That was a Tank Bigsby version. And then Jahan Dotson did like a lengthier interview about how, Jalen's leadership style, was exactly what the team needed. He was one of the better leaders I've worked with. And again, that's a guy who came to Philly to revive his career, didn't get the targets I think he had hoped that he would get, and has every reason to be, jaded or a little bit salty towards the guy dishing out the football, and still chose to back Jalen 100%. So just a shout out. I mean, Tank Bigsby, still an Eagle. Hope he has a bigger role this year. Shout out to him. Jahan Dotson, too. I would have liked to have seen a couple other vets, leaders, bigger names maybe step up and support their guy. But at least those two did.
Dotson will always be a legend for that Super Bowl catch. Almost was the first touchdown of the game. So close. Yeah. But it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, until I hear someone tweeted out, I forgot their name. I apologize. But until some player comes out and publicly says, hey, I don't like Jalen's leadership, blah, blah, blah. He misses said throws here, there. I'm not buying it.
No.
Until someone comes out and says something on the team. No anonymous sources like Schefter said. He said he's tired of this. I agree. Until someone on the team comes out and publicly states that they're sick of Jalen and whatever, blah, 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 then I'll turn an ear and I'll be like, okay, this stuff might have some, ground and legs to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Enough with anonymous sources, especially like Adam Schefter said, you're attacking somebody's character. You have no... it's not based on anything. It's just
he just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then he has a super team, and then you go to rank the Eagles players, and you see these rankings on Twitter, and they have every Eagles player like above average to average. You're like, how do you have a super team, but everyone on the team is average?
Yeah, again, but then as soon as we start winning, it's
a super team again. It's such a line to toe. I like being the villain in the NFL though, because it's fun and we win. So.
It is a good time. Nobody will accuse the 2026 Philadelphia Phillies of being a super team. Coming into the season, you and I had talked about it. We try to be, I like to think we're pretty pessimistic on this show, pretty accurate. We kind of saw this team for what it was then. And I'm not saying the writing's on the wall. This version of the Phillies is not going to be the Phillies we see in June and July. They're going to figure it out to a degree. But it has become painfully clear that this team will go as far as the rotation will take it. And early on, it's been a bumpy start for the rotation, thus the 2-3 record. But we are not going to slug our way into the win column. Bryce Harper is still shaking off whatever kind of rust or off-season issue that he may or may not have had, because he doesn't look the same. Trey's going to get it going. I mean, anybody who watches the Phillies know he always starts slow. It's just the way he is. By mid to late April, he'll be fine. Schwarber, he'll figure it out too. He had a great year last year. I think he hit over 250. That's not really who Kyle is, so he might be, a lower 200s guy again this year. But it's everything that you suspected, or that fans suspected early on. It's boom or bust. It's low averages. It's low-scoring games, and the Stars are going to have to keep teams to under 3 runs. And early on, they haven't. I think they will. Luzardo had a bad day. That's going to happen. Taijuan Walker got shelled. Grass is green, sky's blue. And then we'll give Painter his own segment in a second. But save for Andrew Painter and Justin Crawford, I want to do them on their own. What have you seen from the rest of the roster?
Well, I do got to say we are pretty pessimistic, but we are pessimistic to give us a reason to be optimistic, like the Eagles have with their Super Bowls and countless playoff appearances. Phillies haven't gotten over the hump. That's why we're such pessimists. And it kind of shows early in the season. I mean, Christopher Sanchez was struggling with a Nationals lineup where I could probably name about 3 players. Honestly, I don't keep up that well with other teams outside the Phillies. That's on me. But
they're all mostly new to the MLB. That's why a lot of people don't know them.
It's just tough that you start out this way. Of course, the pitching will regress to the mean, and hopefully the hitting will as well. Save for Justin Crawford, everyone's had like a rocky start. It honestly feels like Brandon Marsh is the second best hitter on this team at this point. I mean
you might be. Christopher Sanchez had a really good national start, and I'm trying to think who got. Taijuan got shelled.
It was only 1 run, but he wasn't doing well managing his pitches. There were long innings. He
gave you 5 1/3, which he's usually pretty consistently 6. But 5 1/3 1-run ball. That's not a bad start.
It's not a bad start, but it is for this Phillies team because.
You got to go to the pen early. You're right.
Yeah, you have to go to the pen. You have to limit them to 0. It's tough. Thankfully, Edmundo saved us from a disastrous start all by his lonesome with that clutch pitch hit, and then the corresponding defensive play in the top of the 10th where he doubled him off a second. So he's responsible for a win basically by himself. But the NL East doesn't feel like it's offering too much competition. The Mets are super sluggish. I got to watch them a little bit against the Cardinals. They should have smashed a pitcher whose baseball savant rating is 1 out of 100, and they just couldn't get to him. So the Mets are struggling. The Braves, they don't look at full force either. And then of course there's the Marlins, who look actually really good, but the
Marlins are red hot.
They were playing against the White Sox, but I did watch them score 10 runs yesterday. And then you have the Nationals, who they'll get there hopefully.
But they're a young team. I said most of their guys are fresh up from AAA. Who knows what they're going to be.
So the NL East is still wide open, and you got to shake some early season rust off. I got to get into the bat speed metrics for Harper to start the year. I haven't gotten to dive into those yet.
I did see his exit velo was, I think he's 235th out of 275 qualified players in exit velo, which don't love that.
No,
but he's just not.
Look here.
You can see it in his swing. He's just not barreling it up the way he usually does, or the way he used to. I shouldn't even say usually. It just seems his swing seems a bit slower. And I forget who I was listening to talk about it. It was during the WBC. They had really good coverage of what they thought could be going on with Harper. And look, he's only in his early 30s, so age-wise, it doesn't look like he would be over the hill, and I'm hoping he's not. But Bryce Harper he came up to the MLB extremely young. I think he might have been 19 when he broke into the league. So he has a ton of baseball under his wing. He did 15 years in the league. So, again, it's not that he's over the hill, but this former player had brought up that your bat does slow down. It's just Mother Nature. It will happen. And guys don't always recognize that it's happening. So if you keep your timing the same way 27, 28-year-old Bryce Harper timed up a fastball, he's behind it. And when you watch him play, he is just like a split second late on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his bat speed doesn't seem to be a concern. It's going down a little bit, but not to where I would, wave the white flag and say it's over. He's still Bryce Harper, of course. He had the big home run in the clutch moment. It's just so tough that you have big money to Trey, you have big money to Bryce, you have big money to Kyle, and the offense has just come out stagnant. It is what it is.
I lost your audio for a hot second. It's not on your end, it's on mine.
It's all good. That technology stinks, but yeah, it's just this team needs to turn around, and they will. Or like you said in many multiple podcasts, they're going to lose the fan base if this keeps up. I don't think it will, but if you start to go on 4 or 5 game skids, people are going to stop showing up at the bank.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. I think Kruk. I think it was Kruk that pointed out the other night. It might have been T-Mac. But it was a tie game. It was like a 1-1 game. It would have been the last game against the Nationals that we did end up winning. But one of the guys on the broadcast had mentioned this is the most subdued crowd I can remember in, a tie game. I believe it was the 6th inning. And, I went to the game Monday night, maybe a shade over half full. Like, it hasn't fully happened. The team, Philly's still a baseball town. They still love the team, but that fever pitch is kind of gone. And, the night I was there, we've always, had a love-hate with Taijuan Walker, but the Phillies were getting booed in the 2nd inning. And that's something that you never really used to hear happen. People would be frustrated, but it was like this blind support. They're getting a little bit of that Sixer frustration now.
Yeah. And it's warranted with all the lost opportunities. And I'll say, I think it's one bad year. Like the Phillies need one more bad year, and it's a football town again till, the Phillies are proven winners. I think it's going to flip back to be an Eagles town.
I think you're right. I think John Middleton operates that way. I love him as an owner. I think
that interview, we didn't get to talk about that, did we?
Yeah. Well, yes, we do. You know what?
I think we did. I think we mentioned it briefly.
It was a weird interview. Here's the thing. I didn't like it because I think baseball is the greatest nostalgic sport that we have. And I think Citizens Bank Park was built a certain way. And I don't love how corporate the Phillies have become. I did appreciate, as harsh as it was, the honesty of the Ghost Energy deck answer, because it called out people like myself who are probably a little hypocritical. I thought Harry Kalas was beyond any of that. I thought he was untouchable, that corporate greed had nothing on the legend that is Harry Kalas. But I'm also the guy on this podcast every winter going, go get me somebody, get me Bo Bichette, get me Kyle Tucker, go out and get these guys and spend this money. And he kind of put people like me in my place and said, look, if you want me to go star hunt every year, if you want me to compete with LA, the Mets, Yankees, etc., he's like, these deals pay for players. We were paying to have Harry the K's. Ghost Energy just gave us enough money to go sign a free agent. And it stung, and it's a little bit cold. It's also completely true.
I'm more impressed that he didn't spill his wine.
Unbelievable.
There was so many opportunities. I think the one tweet counted, there was at least like 7.
Yeah,
where the cup was just like this close and it didn't overflow. But yeah, I mean, you want to star hunt. You want to keep the legacy, though. It's such a tough, middle ground to keep. And I get why people are mad. I totally do. I also get why people are mad right now at the baseball team that seems like it needs another bat. So
I will hand up. I was mistaken, at least thus far. We're only 2 series in, but spring training is. Adolis Garcia looks like he might be able to hit. He looks like he might hit.
Like that fly ball was kind of bad, though. I have to call it how I see it.
Yeah, but when you look at, we're talking about Harper's exit velo being disappointing. When you look at the ball, the way the ball comes off Adolis Garcia's bat, he is consistently high 90s, low hundreds in exit velo. He is all over the ball. And he's hitting, earlier on in the season, I get it still, but he's still hitting like mid 300s. I think it's like 330 something the last time I looked. So, and he's had a lot of really hard hit balls that have gone right at guys. So I do think it seems as though whatever issues he was working through the last couple of years, his bat looked really, really good. he's a much better fielder than Cassie. I can't. What was it? Was it game 2 against the Nats? He ran down a fly ball in deep right field that, for the past 4 years would have been an easy double, possible triple.
Yeah, I know. It would have landed in front of him, right?
I thought there was one behind him.
There was 2 separate occasions.
Though. That's 2 doubles that Nick Castellanos would have given up had we not had a former Gold Glover in right field. So far, I don't mind the Garcia signing. I still think it wasn't enough, but he looks like he's doing his part.
It wasn't enough, but he took a good walk yesterday. It was a good AB in the bottom of the 9th. So all credit to him. Or I believe that was his bottom of the 10th. I think it's his bottom of the 10th.
Speaking of the bottom of the 10th, we tabled these 2 guys earlier, but we're going to end the show with them because I don't want to be all doom and gloom. And the Phillies have 2 reasons to be very, very excited. I think one more than the other even. Justin Crawford and Andrew Painter both made their Phillies debuts since this last show, and they both so far seem to be as advertised. Justin Crawford just looks comfortable, man. I mean, if you watch that first at-bat, he was first pitch swinging, first AB in the majors, single right off the bat. And then bottom of the 10th, he comes through with the big hit to send the team out with a win. We have 2 rookies in this town right now that just don't seem to really have a heartbeat. And he reminds me a lot of BJ Edgecombe. Both guys came into the bigs, whether it be the NBA or the MLB, like they already belong there. And I love that for both of them. I love it for the Phillies. Andrew Painter had a great first start. His stuff looked electric. A lot of reason to be excited there. He'll have some bumps. He's a rookie pitcher. If he finishes the year in the neighborhood of 4 ERA, I'm pretty happy with that. But the 2 rookies might be pretty solid additions for this Philly squad.
Yeah, I'm shocked that it took them this long to debut, but that's neither here nor there. We have them now, and Crawford looks like he feels like a 2000 center fielder.
He does. But his dad. I mean, that's why.
A little bit, yeah. Shockingly close. But I totally see the comparison there. Painter, excellent first start. The stuff was all there that it was throughout spring training. I like that his last pitch was, I believe, 97.9.
Yep.
I love that. No velo drop, nothing to be concerned about. I'd love to see it again, in his next start. So we can keep building upon that. Of course, it was the Nationals who, like you said, are basically a AAA team called up, but they do have some quality hitters on the roster. I just, it's nice. It's nice to finally have one of these rookies hit for us once, maybe Aiden Miller's next. Who knows with how it's going.
Well,
we'll see what kind. I hope he gets a contract before, I believe it's December 1st. I think that's the date that if they try for the salary cap, all contracts will probably be grandfathered in. I think Buster Olney tweeted about that today.
The tricky thing for Aiden Miller is it will, in all likelihood, be blind faith that gets in that contract because it does not appear as though he's anywhere near coming back, even to AAA Lehigh. Whatever this back issue is, he's just barely started baseball-related activities. But from what I understand, he's not taking fielding drills. He's not taking cuts. He's not taking live ABs. So he is a long ways away from playing semi-competitive baseball, which that's a whole other show we got to do because how bizarre is that Phillies fans all spring the question was, will he make the roster? Will he break with the team? We would never know that something was wrong with Aiden Miller if Bryce hadn't had a bit of an axe to grind and aired it out on that spring training interview.
He really did just air out the GM's business, which, I got to respect it because Dave was calling him out, and there's definitely some public beef there. And
but why is it in Philly? Why does everybody lie to us here? The Eagles don't give them that. But the Sixers lie to us constantly. Now the Phillies are like, no, he's not hurt. What? Maybe I'm just in a bubble, but it doesn't feel like this happens other places.
No, you see teams that down in, I'll say like Florida, like the Buccaneers. It's like, Oh yeah, Baker Mayfield's hurt, but he's gonna play, and then he plays.
Yeah, like, why are we like this?
It's like I don't know. I don't see it anywhere else where it's like the hidden injury. That there's probably one or two that I'm missing over the past several years, but it's just so weird that it's always us.
Yeah, Joel Embiid just went public on Twitter the other day. I mean, we'll end this one. We're already over 30 minutes, but I mean, we got our star player tweet now. They won't let me play basketball. Like, why?
I thought that was an April Fool's joke originally. I looked. I'm like, oh, that's just April Fool's. I look a couple hours later. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, it wasn't apparently. Speculation was that he was sick that morning and missed some kind of walkthrough or whatever, and then went to the team doctors. They cleared him, but then the organization decided he wasn't playing or something. It was like, but again, it might mostly explain itself, but it just feels like it only happens here.
It feels like it's always us. I mean, it's just, I don't know. What are you going to do?
Keep being a fan and just keep rolling with the punches. And, that's our game plan here for the next 6 days until we see you next Thursday. Hopefully the Phils can sweep Colorado and put this series behind them. By then we'll have a better sense as to what seed the Sixers are going to be. We'll probably talk some Sixer playoffs next week and ever closer to the draft. So
3 weeks.
3 good reasons to check back in next Thursday at 9 Eastern as always. But in the meantime, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. This is the Passing Report, and we'll see you next week. Sweet.